On Arirang News. Marking 1 year since taking office, President Yoon vows to fully devote himself to the public. He says his second year will focus on the economy and the livelihoods of the people. It's not only K-pop that's going popular worldwide. Korean weapons are also gaining more presence on the world stage. Tonight, we take a look at South Korea's cutting-edge weapons from the fighter jet KF-21 to the K-2 tank. The latest trade data show that South Korea recorded a current account surplus in March for the first time in 3 months. However, the goods account remained in the red for the 6th straight month amid a global economic slowdown. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in South Korea. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We begin with the comments made by President Yoon who today marked 1 year in office. He said his focus in the second year of his term will be on the economy and the livelihoods of the people, pledging to fully devote himself to the public. He also paid a surprise visit to the presidential office's press room. Our top office correspondent Kim Do-yeon leads our coverage tonight.
As Wednesday marked the first anniversary of his inauguration, President Yoon laid out the administration's direction for the second year of his term, economic security. Saying that the country does not have natural resources to rely on, President Yoon emphasized to his top aides and ruling People Power Party leadership that Korea's economy will only boom through trade.
President Yoon pledged that his second year in office will focus on the economy and the livelihoods of the people. Diplomacy will focus on the economy and the complex situations can be beaten through exports. He promised that the government will support businesses and instill a rule of law in labour-employer relations while making concerted efforts to create a safe labour environment.
He added that while the changes may not yet have been tangible every day, the country is now on the right trajectory to a greater future. In the meantime, the president also made a surprising and rare visit to the presidential office's press room. This is the third time he's visited this part of the presidential office building so far, and he took the time to greet and shake hands with each reporter and had a short message.
새로이 맞이하는 또 1년도 언론이 정확하게 잘 좀 짚어주시고 저희들이 또 방향이 좀 잘못되거나 이를테면 속도가 좀 빠르거나 너무 늦다 싶을 때 여러분들께서 좋은 그런 지적과 정확한 기사로서 저희 정부를 좀 잘 이끌어 주시기를 부탁드리겠습니다.
The move was decided by the president at the last minute, a surprise visit after saying earlier this month that he would engage with the press more. As he wrapped up his visit, he reaffirmed his will to have more exchanges with the reporters. Accompanying him were ruling People Power Party Chairman Kim Ki-yeon and other leaders from the party as well as Yoon's top aides. The party leadership had their lunch for the anniversary after going to pay their respects at Seoul National Cemetery, as is customary for Korean presidents on such occasions. Without saying too much, President Yoon paid his respects and signed the visitor's book. It read, quote, "Together with its great people, we will create a nation of freedom and innovation and one that responsibly contributes to world peace and prosperity." Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
President Yoon took office on May 10th last year, pledging to be closer to the people and communicate openly. He also said he's committed to making South Korea a global pivotal state. Our top office correspondent, Oh Soo-young, covers President Yoon's initiative thus far on social reforms and economic and foreign policies, among others.
Freedom and rules-based order has been at the heart of President Yoon Suk-yeol's presidency, with the tenets of liberal democracy defining both his domestic and foreign policies. Beginning with his relocation of the presidential office from the secluded palatial grounds of Cheongwade to a government building in Yongsan Central's Seoul, Yoon aimed to end Korea's so-called imperial presidency and empower the people. Aiming to build a fair and just society and a market-driven economy, Yoon's unveiled 3 major reforms in labour, education and pensions. First, the administration is aiming to end malpractices and a toxic labour union culture which has promoted systematic nepotism, extortion, coercion and violence, especially in the construction sector. Yoon says such illegal practices have harmed fair employment, salary levels, as well as business competitiveness. Education reform and pensions reform are also crucial, as having the world's lowest birth rate threatens future productivity, on top of income stability for the rapidly ageing demographic, which will outnumber taxpayers to support them. The National Pension Fund is projected to run dry in 32 years. Against these structural challenges, Yoon has focused on building up domestic capabilities to produce cutting-edge technologies, particularly in semiconductors and biotech. He's got corporate tax and eased regulations, working to remove red tape to spur investment and job creation. Also, to expand the export-based economy's supply chains and overseas markets. The self-professed top salesman of Korea has been seeking new investments and partnerships in advanced technologies with countries like the UAE and the US, and a niche in defense exports. The president has further defined South Korea's role in the world as a global pivotal state. Seoul has deepened its 70-year military alliance with the US, beyond strengthened deterrence against North Korea, and is building bridges with Japan despite political criticism at home in the face of various geopolitical and economic challenges. The administration also issued South Korea's own Indo-Pacific strategy, more vocal support for Ukraine and peace in the Taiwan Strait, as well as joining America's semiconductor network and economic initiatives.
치열한 지정학적 경쟁과 다층적 국제관계 속에서 우리 대한민국이 세계 평화와 번영의 허브 역할을 수행해 나갈 것입니다. 이렇게 하는 것이 우리의 안보와 경제, 기업과 국민 모두에게 필요하고 유익한 것임은 더 말할 나위가 없습니다.
While gaining accolade abroad, Yoon's leadership based on principles has also stirred calls for more practical policies related to everyday life. In a Yonhap survey released on Tuesday, Yoon's approval rating stood at 37.5%, with respondents' top priorities being the local economy and job creation, followed by improved social harmony and public messaging. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
In the meantime, the leaders of the ruling People Power Party and the main opposition, Democratic Party, had opposing points of view while assessing the past year under the Yoon administration. Our National Assembly correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
The ruling and opposition blocs delivered contrasting messages on Wednesday, a year into President Yoon Suk-yeol's administration. The ruling People Power Party leader Kim Ki-yeon on social media vowed to, quote, work harder on reform to restore normality to the current system of governance in apparent reference to the one established by the previous Moon administration. Kim added that the party clearly felt the limits of being in the minority in parliament and expressed hope that the PPP could have stopped the opposition from, in his words, forcing through bills. On the other hand, the leader of the main opposition Democratic Party of Korea, Lee Jae-myung, said in a meeting of the party's lawmakers on Wednesday that the president for the entire past year has blamed the previous administration and the opposition, specifically criticizing the Yoon administration's decisions in the economy and security. Lee forecast that the remainder of Yoon's term could see more failures. As of Wednesday, out of the 300-member assembly, a total of 168 seats, or more than half, are occupied by DP lawmakers, with the PPP holding just 115 seats. With this breakdown of seats, in Korean commonly called 여수야대, meaning small ruling and large opposing, has passed 562 bills since the beginning of the Yoon administration. That's 28% fewer than the same period under the previous administration. Of the 144 government-led bills, only 36 passed the assembly. Now all eyes are on the future direction of the ruling and opposition blocs as they gear up for the general election set to take place in April of next year. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Korea Aerospace Industries, or KAI, is currently leading South Korea's air defense with its development of the homegrown KF-21, the cutting-edge fighter jet. Our defense correspondent Kim Hyun-seung went to the development site to check out why it's worth noticing.
It's fast, it's powerful, it's a new pride of South Korea's Air Force, the KF-21. and the makers behind this cutting-edge jet?
Welcome to Korea Aerospace Industries, developer of the nation's state-of-the-art combat aircraft like this KF-21 fighter you see behind me.
As one of the government's most ambitious defense initiatives, boasting a budget of 8.8 trillion Korean won, or $6.6 billion US dollars, the development of the KF-21 is a long-haul commitment. The fighter jet is scheduled to undergo approximately 2,000 test flights by 2026 before it can officially grace production lines. As of now, it's already aced around 200 of these test flights, including a crucial air-to-air dummy missile drop test earlier this year.
As a test pilot, I always strive to be well prepared, keeping in mind that any errors I make during a flight could have significant implications for this important national undertaking.
While the KF-21 is a 4.5 generation jet, implying it doesn't possess full stealth capabilities, it makes up for this with cutting-edge ASAW radar and advanced avionics. Korea Aerospace Industries' jet-building abilities are causing other countries to take notice. In fact, Poland and Malaysia have already penned billion-dollar contracts with Kai to buy dozens of its FA-50 supersonic trainers, with deliveries of these jets expected in the upcoming years. As demand heats up for Kai's aircraft, the company may soon be charting a course towards expanding its production sites. Kim Hyun-seung, Arirang News.
At a time when Korean weapons gaining more presence on the world stage, delegations from more than a dozen countries had the opportunity to watch live fire gunnery exercises in the city of Pocheon here in the nation. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji was there and files this report.
South Korea's K-2 tank, armed with a 120mm gun, fires at a target about 2 kilometers away. After precisely hitting the mock target, more K-2 tanks and K-21 vehicles roll onto the battlefield. The demonstration was presented to a group of delegations from countries like Poland and Saudi Arabia that are interested in South Korean weapon systems. At this military base in Pocheon, officials from 18 different countries watched the live-fire demonstration of K-2 tanks and K-21 infantry vehicles. The event, organized by Seoul's foreign ministry, was aimed at presenting the capabilities of South Korean weapons. After seeing the demonstration, the officials even got a chance to get on board the K-2 tanks to get a first-hand experience of it. They also took a closer look at some other weapons on display, including South Korea's K-9 howitzer, K-239 Chunmoo multiple launcher rocket system, K-808 armor vehicle, and K-10 ammunition resupply vehicle. Chile's ambassador to South Korea said he was very impressed with all the artillery.
Korea, we have a MOU and cooperation agreements between the Ministry of Defense, both in procurement and also in cooperation in other issues. So we're always working together to find new opportunities for the Korean armor business.
The ambassador of the Czech Republic also said his country is looking into South Korea as a potential arms supplier to respond to the recent global situation that's become a more dangerous place with the war in Ukraine, along with many other conflicts.
So this is just the beginning, or hopefully maybe today, of our future cooperation also in the defense industry.
Last year, South Korea's arms exports hit a record high, selling $17.3 billion worth of weapons. That's about a 140% increase from the year before. South Korea ranks 9th in the world and aims to become the world's 4th largest arms exporter by 2027. The country's foreign ministry said it'll continue to support South Korean firms expand overseas. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
Business associations from South Korea and Japan have kicked off discussions to operate a joint future partnership fund. The Federation of Korean Industries and the Japan Business Federation held a joint press conference on Wednesday in Tokyo and announced that they have decided to launch a joint committee for the project. The fund was proposed by Seoul in March on the occasion of the Seoul-Tokyo Summit and will be used to boost exchanges among younger generations, including internships. The two business groups plan to contribute 1 billion won, or around $754,000 each, to start off with. Wednesday's announcement, however, did not reveal whether Mitsubishi Heavy Industries or Nippon Steel, the two Japanese companies ordered to compensate Korean victims of Japan's wartime forced labor, will be making contributions. On the occasion of his trip to Austria, South Korea's Prime Minister Han Duck-soo met with the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi. In Vienna on Tuesday, he stressed to the head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog the need for Korean experts and research institutes to continue participating in verifying the safety of Japan's plans to discharge wastewater from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant. Han also requested the IAEA send out a strong message condemning North Korea should the regime actually carry out its 7th nuclear test. The Prime Minister also spoke with the Executive Secretary of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, Robert Floyd, and requested to swiftly share its detection intelligence in the case of another nuke test from the North. On the economic front, the latest trade data show that South Korea recorded a current account surplus in March for the first time in 3 months. However, the goods account remained in the red for the 6th straight month amid a global economic slowdown. Our Lee Soo-jin has more.
South Korea's current account for March was in the black for the first time since December. Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Wednesday shows that the country's current account logged a surplus of $270 million in March. The surplus was largely driven by the shrinking deficit in its goods and services balance, as well as an increase in dividends income. The deficit in the goods balance narrowed to $1.1 billion in March from $1.2 billion the previous month, and the deficit in the service balance shrank to $1.9 billion from $2 billion over the same period. The primary income account, which includes overseas dividend payments, was in the black as the dividends income balance saw a surplus of $3.1 billion, largely due to tax benefits given to Korean corporations abroad. The Bank of Korea expects dividend income to remain high.
Dividend income from overseas subsidiaries is expected to be higher than usual for this year due to Korea's corporate tax reform.
The deficits in the goods and services balances, however, are still a concern, with the goods balance staying in the red now for 6 straight months, and the deficit in the services account, which includes tourism, expected to continue as group tours of Chinese travelers are slow to recover. Despite the current account being in surplus in March, it recorded a deficit of $4.4 billion during the January to March period, the first time since the first quarter of 2012 that the nation saw a current account deficit on a quarterly basis. This comes as the nation's exports in March recorded an on-year decline for the 7th straight month. They were down nearly 13% compared to the previous year, largely due to sluggish global chip demand. Chips exports dropped 33%, hitting the country hard as semiconductors are its key export item. Meanwhile, exports to China also fell more than 33% and Southeast Asia more than 23%. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Findings for the month of April show employment, especially among the elderly, expanded here in the country. But jobs in manufacturing have seen the biggest drop in over 2 years, affected by declining exports. Our Moon Hae-ryun reports.
South Korea's employment rates have risen for 4 straight months on the back of increasing employment among the elderly. According to Statistics Korea on Wednesday, there were a total of 28.4 million people in employment last month, a rise of some 354,000 compared to the same month last year. It's the largest number of people in employment for the month of April since data was first compiled in 1982. The agency attributed this to the rise in employment among those aged over 60 years old, which recorded the largest growth on year among the different age groups. Some 442,000 more people aged 60 and over were in employment in April this year than last year. However, employment rates fell for the country's youth, with less than half the population aged between 15 and 29 in employment. Employment rates for those between 20 and 24 years old showed the biggest decline, falling by 2% on year. There were also 137,000 fewer people aged between 15 and 29 in employment in April this year than last year, the greatest decrease in the number of employed people across the different age groups. In terms of job growth in different sectors, the country showed the largest growth in the accommodation and dining industry, recording 171,000 more jobs than last year. There was also significant job growth in healthcare, science, and technology. However, South Korea's employment in manufacturing saw the biggest decline on year since December 2020, with the number of those in employment falling by 97,000. April also marked the fourth consecutive month in which the number of jobs in manufacturing have fallen on the back of declining exports. Employment in sales and construction also recorded declines. 문혜련, 아리랑 뉴스.
K-pop girl group 50/50 has for the first time entered the Billboard Hot 100's top 20 with their hit song Cupid. The track was on Tuesday U.S. time at number 19 and first entered the Hot 100 7 weeks ago. Meanwhile, Blackpink's song Ice Cream featuring Selena Gomez has been in the Hot 100 for 8 weeks in a row now, the longest for a K-pop girl group. K-pop girl group Blackpink has set yet another record, this time for the most YouTube views for a K-pop choreography video. The dance performance video of the group's hit song How You Like That now has over 1.5 billion views on the platform. It took less than 3 years to reach the number. Blackpink now has 4 YouTube videos that have over 1.4 billion views, with the official music videos for Kill This Love and Bumbaya being the other 2. A German online translator is vying to emerge as the popular platform for Korean translation. Our Kim Jung-sil sat down with the founder.
DeepL's founder and CEO Jarek Kujulowski saw a big opportunity in South Korea. The head of the German IT startup told reporters on Tuesday why DeepL decided to launch a Korean service this year.
The Korean language is growing as fast as we've seen ever in the history of the DeepL service, which for us shows that there is huge demand for translation in Korea. And I'm personally expecting Korea to become one of at least our top 5 markets in the future.
He added that Korea has a strong global presence in IT and that the Korean people are also tech-savvy, meaning they welcome new technologies if they are good and efficient. DeepL now offers translations in 31 languages and has over 1 billion users around the world. Even professional translators use DeepL for quick and easy work. This summer, DeepL will launch its pro version of the Korean service following its demo release in January. But there will be competitors. 2 of the toughest are Google Translate and Naver's Papago. To try all 3 services, we put in a quote from the novel Fortress on Mount Namhan, or Namhansansong, written by South Korean writer Kim Hoon. As you can see with the exact same sentence, each of the results is slightly different. For this particular task, we found DeepL's translation to be the most natural. But how and why?
We were wondering what were some of the challenges you faced while perfecting the Korean language translation.
As you know, Korean has a very particular writing system, and that has definitely been also very interesting to the teams and something that they needed to work on quite a lot in order to make sure that our computers really not only can understand, but can understand efficiently the way in which Korean is written.
In a world of fierce AI competition, DeepL hopes to use its high standard of specialized translation technologies to break down language barriers for everyone. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Western parts of the country will see unseasonable heat again tomorrow. Seoul will be warmer tomorrow at 26 degrees. For eastern regions, conditions will be a whole lot different with cold easterly winds blowing. For Donghae, highs will be struggling to reach the 20-degree mark at only 19 degrees. And dusty conditions are expected for parts of central regions. Despite the warm temperatures, parts of Gyeonggi-do and Chungcheong-do provinces are under stagnant air. For these regions, expect air quality to stand in the bad category. And much of South Korea will have strong UV rays tomorrow. As you can see, most regions will see UV ray index in the very high range. To avoid any skin aggravation, make sure to wear plenty of sunblock before you head out. And then regions will be under clear skies. Tomorrow, Seoul will be starting off at 13 degrees. Big fluctuation in daily temperatures are expected. Seoul and Daejeon will be reaching 26, Gwangju 27, Busan will be breezier at 21 degrees. On Friday, Jeju Island will see brief showers and wide temperature gaps will persist for the remainder of the week. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all for this Wednesday night newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the most up-to-date news tomorrow. Have a lovely night.